Welcome to a series of 10-minute videos on Ontario's water security, brought to you by the Coalition of Ontario Water Guardians. Formed in February of 2023, the coalition currently has 15 partners and is facilitated by the Ontario Headwaters Institute. The coalition seeks to help maintain and improve water security in the province, safeguarding reliable access to clean water in order to protect ecological integrity, public health, social equity, and economic vitality. Our website describes the coalition, its approach to campaigns, and lists the partners. Our first campaign, launched in March 2023, is a petition calling on Ontario to better protect water security. The petition can be found at our website here, cowg.ca, Coalition of Ontario Water Guardians. It's easy to remember. This short video addresses one of the many concerns described in the petition. Today, we have an excellent presenter, Debbie Gordon from Save the Maskinonge, and she's going to talk to us about 30 years of being a guardian on the Maskinonge watershed.
The Maskinonge River flows from just south of Queensville to Lake Simcoe. I live on the Maskinonge River, and I've been a guardian to it for over 30 years. I'm going to tell you why I think there is a need for water guardians. Staff at municipalities and conservation authorities retire and change jobs often. My experience over the years has been that often really important data and research gets lost in this institutional shuffle. But the people in the community who care about the water remember forever. These people can be an important tool to ensure there's a systematic approach to water security across all the organizations. This is not a large watershed. In fact, it's one of the smallest to flow from the Oak Ridges Moraine to the lake. It is like a canary in the mine, and we have been able to see what happens when a watershed is degraded, despite being identified in the Oak Ridges Moraine Conservation Plan and the Lake Simcoe Protection Plan. The more I have learned about protecting water, the more concerned I have become. In theory, we know what we should be doing. The science has showed us this, and this is proof of what happens when best practices are not followed. The river's top three issues are quantity, quality, and pollutants, and it would take a long time to outline all the threats to the river and the solutions, so I have chosen to highlight a few examples for this small river. The Thames smelter operation was abandoned in 1997, leaving a large unauthorized pile of dross and slag containing numerous harmful contaminants on the site. For approximately 14 years, the owners failed to take action to remove the waste, and the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change has failed to carry out a removal or enforce orders requiring that the owners do so. I got involved in 2002 and have been lobbying to get this cleaned up ever since. Every year, it is slowly migrating towards Lake Simcoe. I did a request for a judicial review with EcoJustice and settled with the province in 2016. The owner still has not complied with the order, and I began attempting to get the province to enforce the agreements of settlements. And you can see here how close it is to Lake Simcoe. The next picture is from some years ago, and we were having a very, very dry year, and farmers would continue to irrigate. We would call the MOE, and they would come out, and they could not find any evidence that anyone was irrigating. And till one day, they discovered wet riverbanks and no water. They did a nighttime inspection and found they were using sandbags to create a temporary dam and pumping it dry. The fish were trapped in pools under bridges. And we had a big roundtable discussion with the Conservation Authority, the Department of Fisheries and Oceans, the Ministry of Natural Resources, and they worked with the local landowners and threatened to pull their permits if they did not cease to do these actions. The flow improved, but it shows you without these agencies involved in the community, the regulation of water can be really abused. The other issue we really have is a problem of low water flow from over irrigation and dry years, sometimes from drought. And there's too many nutrients in the river. And we have had two massive fish die-offs, and it becomes a carpet of algae. Now, that being said, there are years where the water flow is good. There's not too much heat, and the river can be almost normal. It shows you how fragile and important quality and quantity of water are. Here is the exact location of the 404 highway. We worked for years on the 404, and we were able to get MTO to allow native plant rescues. We were able to get lots of plantings and lots of mitigation. Our biggest concern was the stormwater management ponds, and we were reassured repeatedly that they were modern and they were the state of the art. Here is the water test release last year from the Conservation Authority. The river was only exceeded guidelines like 12% of the time prior to the 404, and now it's 84% of the time. And it's been from road salt. And now we have the proposed Bradford bypass, which will also impact the Maskinonge watershed further. Here's the route of the bypass, and you can clearly see as it connects the 404 and the 400. It goes through the Maskinonge watershed, through the Greenbelt, and it goes over the Holland River twice and a major wetland. The Lake Simcoe Conservation Authority did a study, the Maskinonge Watershed Plan, a comprehensive document that clearly shows what's wrong with the river and what needs to be done. This research helped leverage 5 years of Lake Simcoe cleanup federal funding. Save the Maskinonge was in partnership with 2 municipalities, Georgina and East Gwillimbury, York Simcoe Naturalists and York Stewardship, in a community-based environmental stewardship project that garnered over $500,000 in total funding, and including what came from the Lake Simcoe Cleanup Fund. We had a stewardship coordinator hired by the Conservation Authority. We did projects including over 3,000 trees planted, over 400 meters of eroded shoreline repaired, wildlife habitat, and a lot of public education. Then the funding ran out, and although we have seen evidence of improved water quality, without solid policies and protections, I fear we will lose any ground that we have gained. This is a very well-studied little watershed that has had generous stewardship dollars spent, and yet it continues to struggle with quality and quantity. And no agency is disputing it is degraded or the steps needed to repair it. The degradation of watersheds is occurring all across Ontario. I am on the Greenbelt Alliance Steering Committee, and many communities struggle to get their elected representatives to uphold a high standard for water protection. Recently, we have seen a weakening removal of red tape, which in many cases is water protection. And keep in mind, our own human health is dependent on clean, safe water. I have witnessed money can't always repair the damage we do, at least not in our lifetime. And what better example of the need for a system-based integrated watershed management plan? We know how to do better, and we need to do better. Thank you.